All right. So, Matt Kozich, I see you on here, and we got a question from you. We were wondering if you'd be able to show us, and you can share your screen and show us what the problem is. Is that possible?
Got it. Thank you, though.
Sorry, we missed the beginning of that. Oh, you figured it out. That's what we said. All right. There was your other question was about whether the contract ID has to stay constant from month to month. The answer to that is no.
For a little context, the template itself doesn't do much of anything with the contract IDs. It's kind of just a record keeping field at the moment. So there's no like validation against the contract ID inside the template. I don't think we anticipate building any validation for showings once they're submitted regarding contract IDs either.
Mary, you also had some issues with the optimization. I don't know if you could show us, or Cal was going to, but I don't see him. So maybe either you could, or we can come back to that.
Are you asking me to do something?
Well, I mean, so you were, I mean, is it possible to demonstrate the problem you were having?
Oh, the error in the macro?
Yeah.
No, actually, it wasn't me. It was one of the RM members.
Okay, I thought it might.
Yes, it was. If Scott Olson's on the line, he might be able to.
Okay. Okay, he is.
Okay.
Let's see.
I can show you.
Yeah, let me make you a panelist here, Scott. So you should be able to show us now.
The question was in reference to the old, I think version 16. I know we're on version 19, but I'm having the same problem, as you can see.
Do you have Solver activated?
I don't know.
Oh, could you go back to the regular Excel screen and click on Data? And I don't see the Solver button, so it's possible that's the issue. Let me just remind myself.
Is that an add-in? I'll have to include it, or?
Yeah, it's built into Excel, but you just have to turn it on.
Okay.
I think it's under File and then Options. And add-ins. And at the very bottom, there's Manage Excel Add-ins. click go, and just check the solver add-in. And then it should pop up on the data menu, or it might have to restart, I'm not sure. Oh, there it is, great. So there's the solver problem set up. And now hopefully it'll run the VBA. Still no, huh? That's interesting. Hit Alt F11 again, or just stay in VBA. And could you set a breakpoint by clicking on the far left of the window in the little gray area underneath the yellow arrow? Just click near next to the set line or the for line. I just want to figure out where it's breaking.
Here.
Lower, next to set or for. In the gray area. And a red circle should appear. There we go. So now if you hit the run button at the top of the screen, can't find project or library. That's, I'm not sure what that's referring to. Active sheet. Could you try it again? I want to copy that dialog text. Can't find project or library. Can you try just closing the file again, or closing the file and opening it again, just in case the solver didn't connect to VBA or something?
Sure, let me try that.
And we lost your screen if you have it open again.
I was unsharing while I'm
okay.
closing and reopening it. That seems to have fixed it by closing it and reopening it, I think, with the solver
Awesome.
add-in done.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Cal, I think you are also having a problem with the optimizer. Do you want to show us what it is?
Simon, yeah, okay, I'm here. Yeah, I had similar issue enabling the solver actually worked, but I was playing. Let me share my screen. So it's actually when I run portfolio optimize shown hours by changing some requirements, it's actually going into some loop and giving some really predictable values. Let me share. Screen. Let me know when you guys see it.
You can see it now.
Yeah, you can see it now. Okay. So you gave me 400 Microsoft VBA 400 error, but I think it ran through. So say just changing, right? Just
Mhm.
numbers. See, kind of gave me some numbers and throw a 400 error. It ran down.
Sorry, what was the? You said there's an error.
Yeah, now it's not coming up. I think it'll take some time, but
Should be refreshing for now. On the top left of the screen, it says refreshing group definition table.
still going through. It's taking a lot. Still refreshing. There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
and now it's running solver.
Solution.
It might be there's not enough capacity to fill those
Mm-hmm.
hours, the 250 hour ending 15, 16, 17.
What that's shown is this. Maybe I need to go check. Why would it show less here? Yeah, again, I need to run. I couldn't even get to this far. It threw me a 400 Microsoft VBA error. I think it
Oh,
missed
I see.
a number of things, I think, but this time it's running. Of course, showing unpredictable. I don't know what this one means.
Yeah, the objective should be 0 if you're showing sufficient capacity
Mm-hmm.
pre-optimization. So I think there's just too much requirement
Mm-hmm.
in those afternoon hours.
Got it. I mean, they should come to 0, right? Ideally,
Right,
if
if
even
it's physically possible.
You need not meet the requirements. At least show what's the chart, right? If I go the chart, I think it's running.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's not coming up, right?
It'll
Because
take
it's
a
not
second.
able to find a solution. But need not find a solution, right, to solve the deficiency, but at least come close.
As it's as close as it can get, I think,
Mm-hmm.
given the constraints of the resources shown, or the storage resources shown.
Mm-hmm. But general question, like if I look at only, I wish this chart was useful to look at. It's not coming up.
Let's give it a second to refresh.
It's gonna come up. Okay.
Or did it stop refreshing?
Yeah, it's running in
Oh,
background.
there it goes.
Sometime, okay. Saying something. Huh? Okay. Maybe. Sure. Now the question for me is when you stack up, why it should, I'm assuming you're looking at long hours here, Robert, and saying this is the excess energy,
Uh-huh.
right? And that's can essentially charge the battery.
That's right.
And why not sequentially load them, right? For example, if I have a storage, pick the most efficient battery and stack them up when my first need is. Because it doesn't really matter where I put, because I'm still trying to solve every single hour.
Uh-huh.
And run sequentially.
So
Right,
it's
and by picking the most efficient unit.
yeah, it's not prioritizing efficient units.
Mm-hmm.
The objective function just looks at the deficiency, basically. So the requirements and allocations minus the total shown capacity. So that objective column, because it's highest when the requirements are the highest, it's going to try to put as much storage as possible in there before it fills in the earlier hours, unless the earlier hours don't.
But does it really matter when you show? Because if I add to the portfolio, I'm trying to solve for all hours. Maybe sequential is a better way, and by looking at most efficient unit, right? Then you don't need to worry about
possibly.
multiple combination. Yeah.
Multiple what?
Then you don't need to work out different combination per solver, right? All you're doing is you're taking a deficient hour. I know I have excess. I know my batteries, empty batteries, and I'll pick most efficient battery and stack them up, right? If I add to the portfolio, if I end up long in RNA 6 for whatever reason, then I don't need storage in that hour, right? Then sequential logic checks for the next shortest hour, and if there is enough, utilize the empty battery. Right.
Right. So it it shows fractional batteries, so it doesn't show the full, or it doesn't have a requirement to show the full capacity of a battery any given hour. So it can show a very small fraction of multiple storage resources.
Do I need to? Is the question, right? But I would, I would pick most efficient battery and stack it up, fill up with energy and show it first before less efficient battery.
Yeah, we'd have to figure out how to weight by efficiency, and I haven't tried that.
Okay. Yeah, that's the first comment, which I, given that it's working, obviously we got to figure it out, and we need to test, hey, it's really kind of optimizing as intended, but that's the first feedback I have is I think I would go sequentially and utilize most efficient battery first, right? And the second feedback, I thought, again, I know you wanted to understand this, but it's still not built in, right? Because the decision gave a provision, if it's a co-located battery, and then there is a world resource with energy only, it can charge the battery based on, of course, exceedance profile and efficiency and whatnot, right? Yeah, that's not built in yet.
It is built in.
Oh, it is built in. Okay. Okay. So is this what that is referring to? Non-grid charging?
Yes. So that's the, I think that particular resource has 2 other solar resources co-located with it. So that value is the sum of the 2 other resources showing for that hour. And then it can use that to charge the storage resource if the storage resource isn't being shown that hour.
So it's saying non-grid charging capacity. So basically you're saying in that hour, it has 5.42 megawatts of word resource, which is energy only.
Mhm.
And technically, this is actually exceedance applied to the PMAX, or not PMAX, non-deliverable portion of word resource. Is that how you're going, Robert? Because when in my
It's,
mind, I think
the VER value from
Yeah,
the LSE showing.
VER value on the showing.
So it's multiplying that or the sum of those two values for Garland times the solar exceedance profile.
So it's okay, 10 megawatts, and in this case, applying exceedance for that hour. Exceedance for that hour. Assuming that, I don't know how much of that is.
Sorry, your audio got a bit quiet there.
There
we go.
I need to go back, check, and verify, but you're actually looking at if the bearer is under contract for 10, in this case, how much of it is deliverable and how much of it is not. You're taking that into account as well, right?
There is a separate deliverability test. That's for hybrid deliverability.
If I go to Garland, I know that's a co-located project, and I think there's some deliverability on solar.
Yeah.
I think one of them is energy only.
One of them is energy only. This is full capability. Very nice. Yeah, distracted. The 2 batteries paid fixed and access, and then I go here, and then interconnection limit of 109, and
So that value is shared among all 3 co-located resources. It looks like they're all full capacity.
Maybe that one's.
yeah, the sharing, because the battery is not getting 180. Okay. Yeah, no, I think I'll take that offline, and then probably I'll work through. Now it's working. At least so I can have more comments.
Okay.
If others have a question, I'll let them go first. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to go down our list?
Yeah. And some more questions from Aram?
So, okay. There was a question about assuming that the batteries start each day at 0. We discussed this at the workshop, and that was modified in the more recent version. So, Robert, now it's starting at fully charged, correct?
Correct. So it's starting at fully charged, and then we're running the state of charge approximation for 2 consecutive days.
If anyone has follow-up questions, just raise your hand, or you can put it in the chat. All right, also about the storage state of charge, there's a question about why it's needed for a single cycle battery if there's enough charging capacity. So I guess it was the question of was there ever a scenario where this would be an issue, basically? And starting with a full charge should mean, it's maybe isn't necessary to check in that case, but it also shouldn't cause you to fail the test. So it should be fine. Does that make sense? Mary, Scott, or whoever asks those questions?
I think so. We'll have to take a look at the newest tool. We haven't had a chance to take a look at it yet, but thanks for that.
Okay, great. Okay, and then there was a comment that you need to have the templates far enough ahead, so that you'll be able to use them to look at your position and modify procurement. So I guess we're curious, if you have thoughts on how much time is needed. We do, normally we give out the initial allocations in July and then final allocations in September. I think we should be able to, since we'll just have the one load migration true up per year now, we should be able, I think, to do 6 months at least for the first, half of the year. In the first, when we do the final allocations, and then maybe after the true up, this update the rest of the year. Would that be?
Yeah, I think that'll work. I think that'll work. The concern is that we'd just be receiving the monthlies. Well, it was unclear when we'd be receiving the monthlies, since staff is going to be provided every LSE with their own tool that has all of their information built in. If you're providing all of the monthlies in the year ahead process, in parallel with the year ahead process, so all the LSEs have a good handle for what their monthly positions are well in advance, that'll be good. And then after the true up, which, I forget what the schedule is, Simone, now. What is that, March, April? I can't remember. But yeah, after that true up, being able to provide as much time in advance of the monthly filings, so we have a good idea of where we are and can trade as necessary. That would be great. So if there's something in writing that can be provided by staff to say, here's the thought for when everything will be provided, that would be helpful.
Okay. Matt, unmuted.
Hi, Simone. I guess maybe this is a good time to ask one of the questions we submitted, but since this is on timeline, what's the expectation for the timeline specifically for 2024? Most concerned about using the charging sufficiency test for MCC buckets.
We are shooting to get everything out by October 2nd. I finished the 2024 NQC list, so we kind of needed that before we could update the master resource database. And we're also just making a few updates to the exceedance based on the feedback we got. And then also we just are currently finalizing the DR. So once we have that, we should be able to get everything out to you in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, awesome. And that'll be, I guess that'll be sort of a firm cutoff point for the template too, because I know, this is kind of ongoing work, but it needs to have some point where it's being, moved towards, specifically for the compliance filings, just for 2024, talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think the template will probably be a work in progress all year as we come up with new issues that arise. But I hope that whatever we send out on the second will at least work for most people. Or do you?
Yeah, I totally understand. No, that's great. Yeah, we're just really trying to lock in our timeline for all of our prep here. So appreciate that.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So I think this came up also in the workshop a couple weeks ago, that for a hybrid resource, LSEs need to be able to show only the one component of the hybrid. Yeah, and I don't know, I think Robert could explain like technically why that's difficult.
It would take some changes to the template. I think technically the difficulty is that within a template from one organization, there wouldn't be information about the contracted capacity from another organization. So there's no way to determine if the two showings are compatible with each other for a single hybrid resource. We could have it just check against the resource database values and then perform a later test once the showings come into CPUC. But we haven't implemented that yet. So I think we just need to determine if that's what we need to do.
Yeah, and I also like feedback with that in relation to another question we got, which is that there was a preference. You know, we'd set this up so that for solar and wind, you would put the total megawatts under contract down, but the NQC value for other resources, and at least one party would prefer it if it was just NQC entered for everything. And I like that because it aligns with some other feedback, which was that you would like to have a column which is just the, that will match the supply plan. So if everything is NQC, that would be easier. But when it comes to hybrids, it gets a little challenging. So somehow, because we'd have to break up the NQC for the hybrids, or somehow, we've broken them up in slice of day, but they're just one resource in KISO. So a little unsure how we would deal with those. So if anyone has thoughts, let us know. So did Chris Devin.
Hey, thanks. This is Chris Devin from TerraGen. You read my mind. That was what I was going to ask about, was this hybrid issue that I was raising previously. So thank you for the explanation. I think I understand kind of technically what Robert was getting at, the challenges here. But, we appreciate you thinking through it. I think just some feedback. So I didn't get a chance to give anything in writing into as far as a further question or insights here on what we think you should do. But I do agree that, it's difficult to see how you would, link these spreadsheet tools up or something. So I think maybe it is probably a good idea to consider doing an after the fact validation or something where you look at the components of the resources and then compare them against all the other LSE showings and add those up or something and do a validation that checks that in some way. I don't know exactly how to describe that very clearly, but I think I understood what Robert was getting at. It seems to make sense that I think we would support trying to explore adding that as part of the CPUC's process, just to make sure that everybody was not, you know, double counting anything or stuff wasn't being unnecessarily restricted or something. So, so thanks for that, and happy to maybe talk a little bit more about it. As far as that NQC comment that you made, Simone, I think, you know, versus like the contracted amount, I do think that it is pretty important to have that contracted amount. If it doesn't, you know, match up with the NQC numbers that people have, you know, under contract, if there's subsets of resources and stuff. So even, maybe even for, well, particularly for the VER resources, and then for hybrids, it becomes even more complicated, I think. But perhaps there's a way where you could have generally an NQC column that's used, and then for wind and solar and hybrids, maybe a contracted amount. I think I need to think through that a little bit more, but just some initial reaction feedback there. But I'm glad you guys are thinking about this, so thank you very much. And I think that's all I have, but again, happy to try to talk through it a little bit more if you guys are interested at any point. Thanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yeah.
Great. Well, I had a few questions for you here. And I just wanted to start by saying thank you for preparing the template and doing a good job with it. Definitely, you know, we were fairly surprised at the quality of what, you know, was produced, and has been a big help, I think, for preparing the slides today position. It is, you know, fairly complicated. So I just wanted to say, you know, thank you, Robert, if no one's, you know, told you that yet. A few clarifying questions we had were around, especially the requirements tab, right? Requirements and allocations. I understand that we're going to be getting that from the CPUC, that LSE's will. But do we have an idea of the timing and the format of that? You know, do you plan on populating the information into the templates and then distributing them, or you know, and then for the year ahead basis, do you plan on distributing like a pack of 12 in order to get ready for the year ahead filing? Just kind of trying to understand some of the timing around that.
So you would receive a template with your LSE's allocations and requirements for the year ahead, I believe the full year of requirements and allocations. Regarding timeline, I think Simone might have a better sense about that.
I mean, as I said, we're trying to get everything done for October 2nd. Hopefully we can get you everything by then. At least, I don't know, I mean, maybe it would be helpful, you know, since for, you know, I know many LSEs are going to be using it in October 31st time, but it would be, maybe we should try to find out who is going to be, yeah, needing it for the compliance filing, so we could prioritize those LSEs if you needed a month earlier. But I hope we'll be able to get it to everyone by then.
Great. So I hear that your target date is October 2nd, and you'd like to get a list of LSEs who need it for compliance.
Yeah, so I guess we'll at least set those for the 5 summer months.
Right. And then for resources or I should say for contracts where there's a firm delivery agreement in place, you know, whether that's a 7x12 profile or a 7x16 profile that's, you know, in front of the meter PPA, should we just model that as a custom profile, even though they do have a resource ID?
If it's different than the default profile, yeah, then you can enter a custom profile.
Great. And then I imagine the same goes for anything else where we have a missing ID, like any imports or any kind of, if an LSE wants to set a custom battery profile for how they want to use their batteries and not just use the optimization of the template. They should just use the custom profile to kind of force that.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thanks for that clarification. And then I think the last question I have for you is around the MCC4 flag. I understand it's just used for the charging, right? The true false flag in that column. So, but if we have something that's an MCC4 bucket, otherwise there's no reason to set that column to true, right? Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, no, this is only for storage that's not co-located that you are showing on your compliance filing in bucket 4 in 2024. Right, because we made, in our decision, we allowed storage to be shown in bucket 4 if you demonstrated energy sufficiency through this template. So, and co-located storage can already be shown in bucket 4, so you don't need to demonstrate for that, only for the standalone. Anything else, yeah, it's only for storage, that column. Nothing else, whether it's bucket 4 or not.
Great. That clears that up. That I think hits all the questions that I had. Thank you guys for hosting these office hours. It's really great to be able to ask questions and get clarity on a weekly basis like this.
Sure. Okay, we got a question about why we're requiring IOUs to show the negative CAM allocation during the availability assessment hours. The reason is that when you look at the way your negative allocation adds and subtracts from your requirements, right? Because it's giving you a bigger increasing your requirement but reducing your charging requirement, right? When you do a negative storage, so if you don't, if that's not shown in the same hour that the resource is shown, it just sort of basically leads to outcomes that don't make sense. And you know, what would make sense for us to say is you have to match, basically proportionally match how you're showing the positive resource to the negative resource. But because it's possible there's an outage or something, so that you're replacing the actual CAM storage with some other type of resource even, or it could be other storage, or it could be anything. So it's hard to say, okay, it has to be in the same hours as the exact same resource. The best approximation we came up with was that you should show it during the availability assessment hours. But if there's a better way of phrasing that or doing that that makes sense, please let us know. Matt?
Yeah, hi, Simone. That may or may not have been a question from us at PG&E. So thanks for answering that. Just can you clarify what you said there at the end? I kind of missed it. Where you said that it can't be shown or forced to be shown in the same hour
Well,
because it's maybe being
just that
replaced.
it's,
or
it's
I didn't catch it.
possible. Sorry. It's possible that that resource is on outage, or for some reason, like your the IOUs are able to replace the CAM resources with other resources in their showings for, if so. It was more like, how do we phrase this in a way that, you still have to show that negative allocation, even if, it's possible that, I don't know, maybe there's a problem with that battery, so it's on outage that month, you had to show something else. It's not even a battery. I don't know. It was how do we deal with that scenario?
Got it. Understood. Yeah, I appreciate that clarification. I'll take that back to the team. I don't think we had thought of that. We can get back to you if have any more questions, but appreciate the
I
answer.
mean, when the battery is showing, I think what makes most sense is if you show the negative in the same way, basically, that the battery is showing, so that it adds up properly.
Yeah, that was kind of the obvious, what we kind of thought it would probably look like. So that's sort of wondering why.
Yeah, but
it
also
might not look like that, so.
if you did show the negative allocation in hours that don't match, then it just leads to sort of things that don't add up properly, and you could be under procuring in certain hours.
Yeah, understood. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Simone. Appreciate it.
Let's see. Yes, and if we'll try to provide material as far in advance as possible. We didn't have much time this go round, but if we get everything out by October 2nd, you'll have plenty of time to review before the next office hours. That's it. Okay. So next question is, where is the multi-cycle versus single cycle validated against the MRD? How does that work in the template? You want to take that?
Sure. So I might need some more context on this question. There's no specific test for a resource being exactly one cycle versus more than one cycle. So it applies the same tests to all storage resources, and then it checks for instance, the shown total energy provided throughout the course of a day, and it compares that against the maximum daily energy capacity for each resource, which is related to the multi-cycleness or single cycleness of the resource. So if it's a single cycle resource, the total energy that the resource can show throughout a day is the same as the maximum continuous energy. So there's like tests that kind of circuitously validate multi-cycle versus single cycle constraints, but don't look specifically at the number of cycles the resource can provide. If anyone at PG&E wants to ask follow-up questions or clarify, I guess raise your hand or let us know if that's not clear.
All right, so I guess not on that one. The next question is what value will be sent to CAISO for the must offer obligation? That is not changing. It's still the NQC value. You know, the only change would be that the NQC will be the peak hour value for solar and wind rather than their ELCC. And I'm planning in the in this past version of the master resource database, it still just had the ELCC values in there, but in the new one I send out, I'm going to try to, you know, put in the peak hour value, or if it's 0, it will be 0.1 as the decision directed. And we will add in the column as we discussed at the workshop, so that there'll be that one column that people were calling the 25th value, which is the NQC that goes to CAISO. So it should match the supply plan values. Matt.
Yeah, Simone, I appreciate you answering that. And I think if that question came from us, it probably wasn't totally clear. I mean, I think we're asking specifically for storage, given that, you know, it's flexible how it can be shown across the day. So I guess follow up to what you had said, is that also be the quantity for the peak hour, or is that kind of 25th hour number that
No,
you were saying?
I mean, for storage, it will still be what it is today. It will be the NQC value, which is based on the 4-hour value.
Okay, so would it be fair to say, however it's kind of represented over the 24 hours, then it would still be the full NQC that's provided to the CAISO?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
mean, even if, you know, if you had, it's possible to, like, that if the optimizer doesn't fully dispatch, but you would, if you have the entire resource under contract, that should still be fully shown to CAISO.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's exactly what was getting at there. Appreciate it.
That one we covered. How are co-located resources validated when the storage resource is filed by one LSE and another resource by another one? I think that's sort of similar to what was discussed before with the hybrid, a split hybrid, where we would have to check individually. But I mean, I think this would only be an issue really if the storage couldn't grid charge. Otherwise, you can generally show them independently. And as far as I know, there aren't too many examples of co-located resources that can't grid charge. I think they're mostly hybrids. Okay, Matt, you're still unmuted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, I appreciate it. I think you gave most of the answer there. And I think you're right. It was mostly talked about before. But just to kind of clarify, I guess the question would be, as it relates to co-located, is I believe there's a interconnection constraint on some of the resources, and if the added value between the VER and the storage is above that interconnection limit, then I believe that would be against the kind of validation if it was both on the same compliance filing, but if it's on two separate filings, then yeah, that's really where most concerned about the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting that to be too much of an issue, because I don't think too many LSEs are going to be putting storage in the middle of the day. But it's true, the template wouldn't catch that sort of thing. I don't know. I mean, my thought is that as long as both LSEs had a realistic showing, it would be all right. We would let it go because we couldn't, there's no way they could coordinate on that.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense, Simone. We couldn't think of a great solution either, so not trying to put you on the spot to come up with one, but yeah, if you folks do, try and start validating that, then we kind of like to know where it goes, because like a couple of the potential options might be pretty challenging for LSEs. If it requires coordination across LSEs, or if it's validated after the submission, and concerns about if it's compliant or not when it's submitted. So that's kind of the context, but not looking for a solution per se. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I see the issue, but I'm not thinking of a solution offhand that's worth the trouble, really.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Chris?
Hey, Simone, Chris again from TerraGen. So I was going to ask about the NQC value thing, but I also had a thought on just this co-located discussion first. I just wanted to mention this right at the top of my head is that, so I think I can see both sides of this, and the market and the optimization side of what I'm thinking of says, we don't really need to be worried too much about this because the storage is going to operate in a way where it's not going to really be running over that interconnection limit in general. But I do think that it would be good to try to get some certainty ahead of time for this, just so that when and if it does come up, that we know how it's going to be applied, or there's certainty that folks that have different off-takers from co-located and or hybrid resources have some certainty that they won't be blocked from using those resources. So I really support us trying to work through that more in advance rather than just hope it doesn't become a problem, just because I think folks need certainty when they're doing contracting and existing contracts that may have that flavor of it. So that's my point on that. As far as the other one on the NQC, I put in the chat, that NQC number that comes for the VER resources, is it going to be that you said it was going to be based on the peak hour NQC? Is that going to be the net peak hour NQC? That's what I assume. That would make the most sense to me. It just doesn't seem to make sense to do the gross peak, because then you'd be getting, wildly high values for solar.
It is the gross peak, but the gross peak is no longer at a point where you have a wildly high value for solar, generally speaking. That's what CAISO proposed in the proceeding.
But in the exceedance file that you guys showed, the gross peak numbers for solar in some of those months were like 80%.
Not the peak output, the peak hour, peak load hour, which
I
is
see. Okay, so
like,
that doesn't match up
what
with
is that,
that.
like
Yeah,
six-
it's like a couple hours later.
what is
you're
it, like
saying? Yeah,
5
I think.
o'clock or 6?
Okay, I'm not up on my hyper gross peak load hour then. So okay, okay, that
It's
makes a little bit more
not
sense. It wouldn't be as concerning then if it was one of those total peak output hours for the solar, at like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. Then it would be worse. But okay, I think that
I mean,
has a
it's
little
probably
bit less
not
concern
zero
with
yet,
that.
but it's
Yeah.
probably not very. And I
Okay.
did actually look up the peak hours. I could try to find that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is more of a CAISO question, I think, on that issue of how are they going to actually do the validation of these numbers for their showings, and if they have to do CPM or whatever, that comes out of that. I think that they're going to talk about that in upcoming stakeholder process there too. So I don't want to belabor it here, but I guess the thing about the hybrids on this one is, would it be kind of a combination of the VER approach and then storage again, where you'd be giving them like kind of the standalone components added together for that gross peak NQC hour for the wind or solar component?
Yeah. So I guess, and I guess we could just split it on the database. By the way, I found the peak hours. They're 8-hour ending 18 to 20, depending on the month. Mostly 19.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's like more like the net load peak hours, I think. But if the gross load is shifted that far, then it's not as big of a concern that I had earlier. But okay, yeah, I just think there'd be some good certainty provided if we can get a little bit more clarity around the way that these hybrid and co-located are going to be treated. So I'll just keep pushing to that. But I know you guys are thinking about it now and working through it. So thanks again.
Thanks. Let's see, Robert, did we get the one about validation of a battery that can't grid charge?
Oh, I'm trying to find the question.
If the battery portion of a co-located resource is not able to grid charge, there'd be a
yeah, I think we covered that. It's I think the question was in response to the previous revision, and this is now implemented in revision 19.
I mentioned the next one about asking for input, whether people would prefer to put the NQC or the Pmax for the VERS. All right, next question is about demand response and how that will be represented. Our expectation is that there'll be, for each DR resource, there'll be sort of a set profile similar to what we have for a solar and wind profile, except fewer hours, based on the load impact protocols. I know the third-party DR providers had to submit profiles today, so should have done that. And then, currently there's a process where you ask us to add the resources to the NQC list, and we verify that against the LIP, approved LIPs. So now it will, we'll be adding both the, the NQC value for which is, the CAISO value, and then there'll be an associated profile with that. That will feed into the master resource database. If there are any other questions, raise your hand. That's all I have right now.
Simone, did you see the question in the Q&A?
Which one?
Oh, I only see one. It's from
John.
Elon Plus.
But what was he about DR?
Sorry?
About DR or just?
Oh, no. Just
Okay,
generally.
let's just finish the original list and then we can go.
Gotcha.
See, there are a few more in the chat. Oh, there's one. Oh, I see the Q&A. Okay, yeah.
Just didn't
Few
want that
people
one to
are
get
asking
lost.
that same question. Okay. Mary, sorry.
Hey, hi. I think we had one more question from ARM. I'm not sure if we got to. Where in the version 16, the example you had showed the battery discharging in hours 2 to 5, and we just were wondering why that was happening.
I think it just was because there were the load profile, which was the requirements were just not very realistic. So that's the way that it got dispatched to meet that, but it wasn't. It's just the quirk of filling in some random numbers that were a little earlier than would normally happen.
Okay, so you think it's just some quirk of the.
I think, yeah, I just had to do
the
with
data.
trying to fit
The values,
the daily profile.
do you get the same values if you run the optimization again?
I actually don't know. I haven't tried.
Okay.
You could try, but since it's you have a different version of the spreadsheet now anyway, so I don't know how relevant it is. But I just it was on my list, so I wanted to touch base. Thanks.
Let's see, and then Eric Gibbons, I wasn't entirely sure what you were asking. Maybe you could ask verbally. Either. Coming back to him later. Okay. Let's see. So John is asking about process for seeking resource-specific changes in the master resource database. You just contact me. Yeah, we got some feedback from in the from the draft list, but in general, we in certain fields particularly we put in defaults because this was what was decided was the easiest thing in order not to share confidential information. But whatever changes requested, we'll just compare it against the master resource database, or not, sorry, the master file. And if it fits, then we'll make that change. And then for the year ahead filing, and the slice of day, will the requirements be reduced to 90% of the total? Is that's the way it's normally done, is it? Rich? I mean, it is, I think that would make sense for the year ahead filing, since that's the requirement. Or 90% test, Kelsey. To check that oh yeah, that's another option. We could just check that you're complying with 90% of your total requirement. I don't know, anyone have a preference on that? Yeah, that's a similar, we got another similar question. Will there be a separate template for 90% obligation as well as 100% obligation? So I guess what would you prefer it to be separate? I think someone else had asked this too, about people wanting to be able to look at their 100% when there's a 90%. I mean, of course, you could always change the numbers, but would you like one? We could do, maybe it would make sense just to have one for each month where you could test 90% and 100%. Just have the two tests. Nobody has anything to say about this.
We could show both a 100% test and a 90% test on every template.
Yeah, if we could do that for at least for the year ahead showing, we could have the 5 months, and then you'd be able to see what you're looking at, how you're looking for the full year. Okay.
Yeah, just a quick question here. So, right now it's a monthly test, and we're talking about looking at the year ahead.
You're a little bit quiet.
Okay, is this better?
Sort
Can
of.
you hear me clearly?
Not very well.
Is this much better?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, yes. So right now the templates are broken out monthly, and we're talking about like the year ahead stack. There is there a plan to make an annual look, or is everything going to remain monthly?
You mean looking at more than 1 month at a time?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't believe we have plans to have more than 1 month in the same spreadsheet,
Okay. Thank you.
but you can, have multiple. Did anyone see any other questions in the chats?
No, I think we got everything.
Any other questions? Michael?
May have missed it earlier in the discussion. Will we receive final versions of the showing tool to be able to use in the annual filing with like a final instructions? I ask because the the traditional RA guide and filing templates are already more or less complete, and this is like an option for the annual, and we are it's sort of all the LCs are sort of held to this requirement that it's concurrent submission if you plan to utilize the MCC for batteries. And it's not clear to me that everything would be final in time by October 31st.
Yeah, we did say we're trying to get everything out by October 2nd. So, no, I can't guarantee that the template won't change later on, but it should be ready at least for the year ahead showing. I mean, we have more time if there's anything else people would like to discuss or people have any ideas on improvements we can make. If not, we can end. Michael?
I'm not sure if one other question when you say kind of improvement ideas, I saw, or I haven't checked the latest version, but it was in the first version that it's the proportional share of the PMAX for variable energy resources in the template. Is there any reason why it wouldn't, for simplicity's sake, to make it the NQC and then have that calculation be done somewhere else so that it would be easier to validate if you were doing concurrent filings or any filing to compare them, right? There's going to be math between them. So
Right.
Most of the format is currently, everything's like the current format is NQCs, and then this one, you'd have to do LSEs have to do the conversion. For simplicity, having that be just the NQC and then calculating that the share of the NQC as a share of PMAX.
Yeah,
I
think I like that idea. And yeah, we were doing that because it uses that PMAX to generate the profiles, but you're right, you could just look at the proportion of the NQC and use that to get the PMAX.
Just so for validation on your end too, right? So that if you're looking at two filings, then you would be able to see, oh, somebody claimed 50 megawatts of 100 megawatt NQC, and that translates to this. You would see, oh, this is how much they claimed, and it ties out to the RA plants everywhere.
Yeah, only issue is with hybrids. I'm not exactly sure what to do.
Okay. I didn't think it fully through. I was just thinking of.
Yeah, I think we probably could do it if we just just had separate, basically had two the NQC for the hybrid will have to be broken up into the components in the master resource database. I think that might work.
And if you need us to, we could probably submit that in one of the comment rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's in the questions you guys submitted.
Okay. Good.
It's just, yeah, just all these little, and I like that idea because we want, several people want to have just one column that's NQC that matches the supply plan values. And then you'll have that directly, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's just an issue of the hybrids since they're really just one resource. Anything else? Okay, that's it. Then our next office hours are October 19th. But feel free to reach out to us in the meantime if you have any other issues that come up. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.